Happy New Year. This is Katherine Moller here for another installment of Tips and Tricks. Since it's the beginning of the year, I thought that we would talk about practicing and about how to make the best use of your time when you're practicing and how to be successful. So I have come up with 5 steps for a successful practice session. And the first step is to set a schedule. A lot of us are really busy and it's really easy to run out of time to practice, so your best bet is to set a schedule. Ideally, it would be the same time every day. Now I know in my life that's not possible. So on Mondays, I'm practicing in the afternoon. On Tuesday, I'm practicing before I go to work. On Wednesday, I'm practicing after work. So that's not ideal for me. I would work much better if I could practice first thing in the morning every day, but at least I am finding the time every day, and I've put it right in my schedule. It's right in my Google Calendar so that I won't schedule anything else during that time. And that actually leads into step number 2, which is making it a priority. Right? It's really easy to have good intentions, but if you don't actually carry through with them, it's really not helping. So really make sure you put that in your calendar and you make practicing a priority. Otherwise, it is so easy to put it off until tomorrow. The third step is to figure out what you're going to work on. So I came up with a little sample of what I feel would be an ideal practice session. So I like to start with just warming up. So that could be practicing some scales, something where I can really think about my tone and think about how everything's moving, think about my tuning. Also, for warming up, I'd like to play just like little fiddle tunes that I know really well, just to kind of get things going and to get into practicing. The next thing that I like to do is work on technique. So if there's a specific technique that you're having trouble with, maybe doing some studies that work on that technique, or just playing a part of a piece that has that technique in it, but really focusing on whatever technique it is that you want to work on that day. Next, I like to work on repertoire. So working on a piece or maybe a couple of pieces, whatever it is that I need to work on at that point in time. And then I like to finish up with something fun. Because now that you've put all of that time into practicing, it is just time to play something for yourself. Not necessarily something that you're working on for a show, or it could be, either way, but just something that is a lot of fun, something that you enjoy, something that reminds you why all of this work is worthwhile. Step number 4. This is a big one. If there is something that you hate practicing, if there's something that you would rather put off, play it first. So once you do your little warm-up, whatever it is that you hate doing, whether it's scales, whether it's a certain study, whether it's a certain technique, whether it's a piece that you find really hard, whatever it is that you struggle with, whatever it is that you hate doing, do that first. I know from personal experience that if you practice all the stuff that you enjoy practicing first, that it is really easy to run out of time and not practice what it is that you really need to do the most. Step number 5, this is something that I've started doing fairly recently and I find it very useful, is using a timer. So going through your practice and saying, okay, I'm going to spend the next 10 minutes working on this specific technique. Set your timer for 10 minutes and then work on the technique for that time. What I found that it does for me is that it keeps me from looking at the clock, right? If I'm practicing a technique, especially if it's one that I don't like, then I tend to look at the clock and think, oh, have I practiced this long enough? But if I set a timer and then just practice until that timer goes off, I don't check the clock as much. So I've found that hugely useful. It also means that you don't run out of time playing the stuff that you like and then run out of time to play the stuff that you don't like if you actually move on when that timer rings. So those are my 5 steps for having a successful practice session. Make sure that you set a schedule for practicing, make it a priority, have a little routine as far as what you're going to practice. As I said, suggested warm-ups, technique, repertoire, ending with something fun. Make sure that you start with whatever you hate. use a timer, and have a great, successful year of practicing.